Hey everybody, my name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ Film Festival. I'm also an arts reporter for Georgia Voice in Atlanta. I am so happy today to be speaking to one of the stars of the new Queer as Folk, Johnny Sibilly. I'm 3 episodes in, and I'm actually hooked. So thank you, Johnny, for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're hooked. That's
Thanks so
the
much.
intended effect.
Well, I grew up watching both versions of Queer as Folk. I mean, how influential were those to you?
Oh gosh, I mean, super. I do remember watching it very early on, knowing that I wasn't supposed to be watching it. I think I was like 12, 13 when I first saw it. Flipping through the channels, my dad had like, the all the cable networks. So I remember knowing that I wasn't supposed to, but it was one of the first times I saw what queer life looked like and
Mhm.
would possibly look like for me. And it was exciting and overwhelming and captivating and also really hot. so so it was, and then watching it as I got older, it was just great to see queer people on TV being, queer.
Exactly. Why do you think now is the right time for another version?
I mean, I think it's been time for queer stories to be told. I think a show like Queer as Folk could go on forever if,
Yeah.
just because queer stories deserve to be told. And I think now specifically with, the last 5 years that we've been through and what we're still experiencing now as a community, I think it's really important for these stories to come to the surface and for people not only to see themselves, but to get revitalized in knowing that we deserve to take up this space.
Exactly. One of the things I've been really impressed by so far is how topical it seems. I mean, I was watching the fresh episode, and I didn't know that you were going to have a mass shooting in it. And I was like, wow, because it's very emotional. But can you talk about? Did you have any idea that was going to be included in the first episode?
No, I remember when I read the script and that happened. And I remember just being like, oh gosh, no, 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 no. Because it is such a jolt to a viewer. But it also felt incredibly important, not only to honor, what happened at Pulse and any hate crime that our community has endured. I think, it is hard to watch, but it is also super important that we hold a mirror up to society and say, hey, this is how you treat queer people and we don't deserve it. But I also love what our creators have done, which is to show really the healing of what
Sure.
comes after a tragedy like that. Because if there is something that queer people know about, it is about rebuilding and remolding your life despite anything that you've been through.
Exactly. The ensemble. Wow. I mean, you get a lot of newer faces, and then you have Juliette Lewis and Kim Cattrall. Can you just talk a little bit about some of these newer faces that I was not familiar with a lot of these people, and they're all so very good.
Oh yeah, I mean it's crazy because you meet everyone, like we did table reads on Zoom, and I remember reading the script, and then you see the actors that they cast, and then you hear them read, and you're like, holy crap, I would have never thought to read it that way, and I can see this is so. It's no one else can be this character but you, and Finn and Jesse and Devin and Ryan and CG and all of the other guest stars that we have are really so special. And it really is a testament to what happens when you hire queer people to tell stories that are for queer people and by queer people.
Exactly. Can you tell us a little bit about Noah?
Oh, Noah. I have such a special feeling for Noah. Noah, to most people, when you see him from the outside, is, this cisgender daddy that has it all going on. What it seems like, he's got the job, he's got the house, he's got the sex. But behind all of that, what he keeps inside is just a volcano of emotion and messiness and a lot of unhealed trauma. So, Noah actually reminds me a lot of queer men that I know that
Hmm.
don't allow you to see behind the curtain. And I'm really
Exactly.
happy to be playing this character because it's important that we all show that there is a vulnerable side to all of us, even when we act like we've got it all figured out.
Exactly. He does seem to be a very complex character. I mean, and the relationship between Noah and Brody, seems very complex.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've definitely been in one of those relationships before where you're like, I feel like they both want to say what's on their mind, but there's like a fear of being judged or, it not being reciprocated. I mean, even when Brody comes back, you can tell how much he cares and loves Brody, but he also needs to protect himself. And I know that feeling so very well when it comes to, men that aren't that great for you, but
Exactly.
you love them regardless,
Been there, done that. I was talking to the Fire Island cast today, and it's so refreshing to have Fire Island and Queer as Folk, come out around the same time. Can you talk about the importance, Johnny, of having not only out actors in front of the camera, but also out people behind the camera as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because we, a couple of the cast members from Queer as Folk, we went to a screening for Fire Island last week, and it was just so nice to be like, we're supporting you, you're supporting us. It just felt like, because a lot of times when you're marginalized, it's like only one can exist, and that's just not how we see things. And I think that is really something that's taking a hold of Hollywood right now, is to know that there is space for all of us. And for me, I think the importance of queer people telling queer stories is that we know exactly what these people are going through because we've gone through a lot of these experiences in our own life, and it is layered. We do go through different things, in a different way than our cisgender heterosexual counterparts. And I think it's also important to have queer people in the writer's room and behind in the directing chair and, show running, because they also know the lived experience of what it means to be queer. I'm not saying no one could ever play a queer person, because we can definitely play heterosexuals. We've been trying most of our lives, some of us not very well. But I do think there's something super special about telling queer stories and having audiences know that when I go home, I'm not taking off my identity. I'm not taking off my sexuality because it's a role. I'm also going home to a man just like Noah would, and know that I have to be seen as a person and that I have humanity.
Nice. I'm looking forward to seeing this again at Frameland. Have you seen this? Have you watched this show with an audience yet?
No. It'll be, I feel like a lot of things, like watching Fire Island with an audience was so exciting because you get that reaction.
Exactly.
But I've seen all 8 episodes in my home alone on my iPad, and I was like, oh, what? Does anyone else get this? So it'll be really nice to see it with an audience.
Had you ever met Kim Cattrall?
No. So the first time I met Kim was at the beginning of starting shooting, I bought everyone Crocs as like a start gift. And I got everyone like a different color of the rainbow. But for Juliet and for Kim, I bought them very specific Crocs that were really glittery. And I remember the first day she was on set, I was like, here, welcome to Queer as Folk. And she's so sweet. She looked at me and she's like, I haven't even done anything yet. And I was like, oh, you've done plenty. And it, it was just so nice for that to be the first time I met her. And she was just so disarming and just so kind and warm. And, she's just such a joy.
That's so great. I have to admit, I've not watched the second season of Hacks. You're also in Hacks, correct? The second season?
Yeah. I'm in the second season as well.
Well, congratulations. You got a lot going on.
Thank you. It's been busy and I love it.
That's great. Queer as Folk debuts on Peacock June 9th. It is really, really good. Thank you, Johnny. I'm sure people are going to love it. Thanks for talking to me.
Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Thanks so much.
Bye.